countdown is done. We are loading the game. It's going to be Daybreak, kind of a bigger map, a harder map to do Sting style against Vortix.
Yeah, there's not that many angles to really exploit. We'll have to see how it goes. Let's jump on into the game, guys, for our game number 4 on Daybreak. As we do have, spawning up to the northern position here, currently 2-1 up against his opponent in the blue. Give it up for Western Wall Sting. And spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner here as our red Zerg. Aptly here, colors matching their jerseys. We do have Caronte's Vortix. And I want to give a nice shout out to our lovely observer once again, Mr. Infeza. You can follow him at Infeza on Twitter. Doesn't have nearly enough followers. Rising star in the scene.
Indeed he is. All right. Here we are on, such a big map. I feel like Sting's going to play complete greed here. He's not sent out anything for a double proxy 11 racks. That'd be, something that you might expect here as Vortix. In fact, there's a possibility he could go for a pool first here. He's done it twice already. But I think that maybe just really, really greedy play. Like maybe Sting goes into triple command, double eBay, Cloaked Banshee, and Aliens all at once and takes a quick third.
Yeah. That could certainly be a possibility here from Sting. If you're 2-1 up here and your opponent is under the impression that you're going to be doing some aggression, which is predominantly why Vortix is actually sending out this drone scout, then you can mess with their mind. You can really, really mess with them. And as you rightly pointed out earlier, Daybreak's one of those maps that is a little bit harder to get this kind of play going because it's so big.
It certainly is. Well, this drone scout's going to come up and see the racks. Of course, he'll have it in his mind. Is there going to be a second rack somewhere with like a delayed marine pressure? Well, there's not. He's actually going to be fine.
Yep, he's getting that hatchery up, lickety-split, and that spawning pool goes down right after. So he's not cutting too many corners. He's not grabbing a ton of drones in between those two buildings, which sometimes you can see Zergs do.
Yeah.
But again, going up against Sting, you don't really want to take those little kind of shortcomings.
Yeah. Well, he is starting his command center as expected, and the drone is actually still hanging around. Vortix realizes this game point, and he doesn't want to be tricked. Look at that. I love it, man. Just runs right up that ramp and sees exactly what's going on. Even the gases are being taken. So he actually has a gigantic amount of information.
Yep, that's he wanted to steal the second gas there, maybe just make sure his opponent really couldn't go for Cloak Banshees too quickly. But for now, we will have Vortix here. Still stuck in his opponent's main, will end up dying off here. But it doesn't really matter too much here at this point. He's got the information he needs to. That drone's paid for itself quite nicely.
It certainly has. I mean, this type of information against a player like this is worth more than one drone. It's worth probably up to 3 drones, to be perfectly frank. And I think I'm just about serious on that, too. That was beautiful, though, how he held the drone back in that natural, and he knew that Sting was likely to move out with the Marine, and he just took that chance. Like, all right, maybe I can get up this ramp. Maybe I can go see exactly what he's doing. So he knows that reactor Hellions are going to be on the way. And now he gets to choose, how do I react to this? Does he do some sort of roach play, whether defensive or all-in? Does he go for 4 queens? Does he make a wall-in? And based upon this, he has such a good chance to open up safely and be in a position that he wants to be in, which is just getting into the late game.
Yeah, it's funny how actually this has worked out, because the entire tournament long, Artosis, we've been harking on about this map being the standard. This map being exactly what you would normally go for across almost every single matchup. And right here, in a series where everything has been weird, we're seeing Sting going back to the standard style, and Vortix from there on can play his normal game.
Yeah. And in fact, going so quickly, it does look like it's going to be most likely Cloaked Banshee with Reactored Hellion. Now, will he throw up a 3rd command center now? That's something that I'm going to be interested to see. Will he go for double engineering bay? Maybe we'll see from Sting some sort of mech play.
Oh, that would be so cool to see. Mech is very, very good on this map as well. But then again, Vortix, you can guarantee, has such good practice against that style. You end up seeing him go for melee and range upgrades, negating the carapace, not quite really going for that, because he goes up against Lucifer time and time again on this map, who always goes mech here.
He always does go mech here. And I got to say, if Sting decides to go mech here, it's a brave move because you have to study not just Vortix, but also his brother.
Yes, yes, you really do. And, you know, and there are a few ways to go for that mech play if you do go for it, in the form of, you know, the Hellion Thor Banshee play, which is something that the Vortix Luciferon likes to do a lot. But there's also, you know, the tank play that I believe you're quite a fan of, the tank play. I
do like the tank play. You know, it gives you such a solid base moving forward. Now, we do have this Overlord coming in, and the Marine's trying to kill it. Will he end up seeing that Cloak is being researched? He will. A very nice scout by Vortix. Now, does Sting cancel it, or does he just let it finish?
I mean,
like, cancels.
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
Sorry,
no time
guys.
for that.
All right, okay, so he's actually transitioning the factory over elsewhere. These 5 Hellions are actually doing quite a considerable amount of damage to that hatchery. As for now, we still have more barracks on the way, so Sting is going to commit to more biocentric style for now. And actually, he might actually kill that hatchery.
That's a possibility. He's got to move his 3 queens on pretty soon here.
Yeah.
And, in fact, does save it for now. Making some lings, his speed is almost done. He's kind of trying to wait for that. He doesn't want anything to just target his queens out. Now they have enough energy for those transfuses. So he's playing very safely right now. And in the meantime, what were we talking about? Sting has gone for another command center and 2 engineering bays off of very few units.
Yeah, the infestation pit is on the way as well now for Vortix. So as we said before, playing his standard common game. So he's going to have to, this game, if any of the maps, across the 5 maps, this one is going to go the longest here.
Yeah, it certainly should. Well, here we go. We actually have a little engagement going down. Nice transfusion on that queen. And the Hellions and Banshees have to back up. And, of course, he has to be careful. He does have the creep tumors watching just in case they want to try to go in through the main. And with that beautiful connected creep spread, he's going to be able to move up his queens very quickly to defend if he has to.
Yeah. I actually, I want to take back that statement just a little bit. If we go to Metropolis, we might see a long game as well.
Oh, God, that's true.
Because Metropolis is one of those maps that you almost never see small games unless you're Slivko, apparently.
Well, don't worry. If we go to Metropolis, I guarantee you Sting is going for double 11 racks.
Yeah, probably. In the middle of the map in those kind of odd situations.
Most likely. Most likely.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we have Sting right now just kind of flying around. He wants to deny creep tumors, kill off anything he possibly can. You know, he's not in a terrible spot. He's even cleaning up some overlords. So he's trying to basically keep Vortix in his little part of the map and keep him as blind as possible.
It's a nice way to do things. This Viking is not nearly... I mean, it's worked into a lot of players play, right? But sometimes people skip it, and I'm thinking to myself, well, you know, guaranteed you're going to get maybe at least 1 or 2 overlords with that, and that's a really, really nice situation to be in. Vortix will actually could pin these Hellions against the wall, and he catches them all here. The Hellions have no way to get out, but still, that's a lot of damage. He has to retreat.
Yeah, he could have lost almost every single ling there, so he does choose to, but he's gotten the Hellions down far enough that they aren't going to be nearly as scary as before. 2 of them are deep red, the other 2 are fine, but that's only 4 Hellions. He can deal with that for the rest of the game. I think that was actually done just right by Vortix.
No, you're right. That's a nice choice there. If he'd have got the surround a little bit quicker from every single side, then yeah, it would have been good to stay in there, because actually you're not even taking as much damage because your lings are actually in full 360 as opposed to all clumped up right next to that wall. So right now we have the Hive as well as the Baneling Nest on the way. Vortix taking up pretty rapidly here with that 2-2, and as long as he cleans this push up, he should be okay, but Sting is actually pushing out before Baneling Nest is even done.
Well, here comes the push, and he doesn't have 1-1 or stim yet. A beautiful bundle going down, and it looks like Sting has actually attacked a little bit too quickly here. He almost had stim, he almost had 1-1, but instead he loses everything right before those 2 upgrades are on. Everything dies. Huge gain for Vortix, a big lead in his favor now.
Even those medevacs dying off, and that is so brutal for the Terran to actually deal with. He has to replenish all of those. It costs a massive amount of gas. If he'd have just lost the Marines, it's not that huge. He can replenish them quite nicely with all the minerals, but actually losing that amount of gas right there and then is big here.
It is so big, and, you know, that's brutal. Vortix right now is smiling to himself, thinking, okay, play my best from here on out, and I should be bringing this to a Game 5.
Yeah, he should be. There's a Hive now morphing in. That's done and dusted. We will see the Ultralisk Cavern go down right now. And with that, Adrenal Glands and 3-3 will start as soon as that 2-2 finishes up. He has those 8 gas geysers, and that's the key money amount of gas to really start ramping up this very scary late-game composition.
Oh, man, this is looking bad for Sting. The fact of the matter is the creep spread is halfway across the map. Vortix is going up to 5 bases. He's not letting any drops do any damage. No harassment is affecting him. He has such great upgrades. In fact, superior upgrades to Sting. And this mobile unit composition that is not going to allow Sting to move outside of his base. So Sting has to play a super long macro game, which is Vortix's realm.
And Artosis, I have a question and maybe a paradox. Right, Sting has to, in my opinion, take a fourth to keep up with what Vortix is doing right now. But how does he take that against now with 7 Ultralisks on the way?
When he sees those, his heart will sink to the bottom of his chair. He has got to go down there, maybe make a planetary. I mean, that can be dangerous, but siege up your tanks, maybe make some barracks out there to mess with the AI of the Ultralisks. Get your Marauders going as well. All these things very important, or Vortix will simply overwhelm him.
You're 100% right. SimCity here against this composition is ridiculously important when you're trying to claim extra bases. If you don't have that SimCity, guess what? You're gonna get crushed in the snap of a finger. And Sting right now, he's actually doing a good job here, trying to go for some drop play, maybe trying to keep his opponent back. But now Vortix is maxed out. He's accruing that back. And here come the Ultras.
This is gonna be huge. Beautiful fungal growths going down, and those Zerglings starting to snake through. Absolutely crushing through this army of Sting, and Sting is in a lot of trouble.
Those Ultralisks surviving for so long. Sting trying to go for a little bit of a drop play here, but it doesn't matter right now. Vortix is on the road to his opponent's natural, and with those Ultralisks so healthy, so much in the know, the Zerglings are going to rally out. 3-3 is on the way. All the SCVs being pulled off the line to try and deal with the Ultralisks. Fungals go down, and Vortix right now is on the verge of taking game number 4.
He certainly is. He's up by over 60 supply. Those Ultras, every single one of them still alive. They have their chitinous plating. And what right now is his opponent to do with infested Terrans being thrown on top of the very important defensive siege tanks? I think we may be seeing a GG from Sting pretty quickly here.
Sting straight into the realm of Vortix, and Vortix said no. The scythe comes down as Vortix constantly rallies those lings across the map. Fungals go down on the rest of the remaining Marines. Zerglings being sent over to the 3rd base. Vortix here on the doorstep of the Terran and not allowing a single beat to go down from Sting.
Well, look at this. Even harassing that 3rd base right now, Sting is trying to throw up more command centers, trying to find some way to rally, to come back. But when you look at the economy that his opponent has right now, he has 5 full bases, he has 90 drones, he's getting that Spire. He would have to kill him before the Ultralisks, before the switch out of Ultras into Spire, but Vortix is making sure. We see a ton of spine crawlers going up. He's making plenty of units. There is no way for Sting to end this game, so all he can do right now is prolong it.
Yeah, he has to turtle. He has to somehow create some sense of normality. Thankfully for him, he got to the point where he was making a lot of command centers down to his 3rd location to go into that long macro game, but still, Vortix double the supply right now. Oh, it's only Sean. Go away, Sean.
Don't worry about that, guys. All right, but I tell you, man, this is wild. I feel like Sting is one of these players. He's so good at micro. He's so good at attacking that he relies on it almost too much. There's points where he's over-attacking, and that's where Vortix is getting ahead.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's exactly what we've seen this game. He just put a little bit too much into it, and Vortix just comes out on top there. And at this point, attacks aren't going to work anymore. We have 6 more Ultras, more Lings on the way. Vortix is maxed out with a sick ground army.
There we go, guys. We're starting back into the game here, so let's jump right on in once again here. Sting still trying to create some sense of normality in the middle of the map. He feels as if he has to do something, but what can he do? Vortix is covering all his angles. He's got good creep spread into the middle of the map. He's rallying Ultralisks to the front. He's getting that greater Spire. All of these Spines, even if he wanted to go for drop play, are probably going to shut him down.
Yeah, there's no way for him to drop that main base for sure. So what is he going to do? Go up and drop the 5th base? Well, no, that's full of spine crawlers too. Well, what about the 3rd? No, I'm sorry, he's making spines there. What about the 4th? Well, no, spines and the entire army. there's nowhere for him to attack. He cannot attack anywhere. All he can do is sit back, defend, and hope that he can hold on.
Here we go once again. Sting right now under threat as the Ultralisks charge in. One of them goes down really quickly, but they now close the gap with those T-Shanks. The Fungals go down as well as the Infested Terrans. Lings and Ultralisks everywhere, cleaving up all of the bio with the Kaiser Blades. GG for game number 4. Vortix takes it on to a game number 5, Artosis.
Wow, Vortix with some inspired play there. I love that choice for the Ultralisks, really giving him that big punch to knock Sting out in the end.
Guys, let's send it over to the analysis desk, and we'll see what they have to say.
All right, guys. Well, that was a pretty interesting game on Daybreak there. We saw a more standard macro game, of course, coming out from Sting, but then that interesting little bit of, I almost want to say anti-timing there. Unfortunately, losing him a small army early, and Vortix just feeling in his element now in a game that he knows how to play and does it day in, day out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
As Kalaris and Atos is mentioning, like attacking right before a 1-1, no combat shield, and Stimpeg just finished during the fight, I think, or something like this.
Right, yep.
That was like completely anti-timing, losing his whole army there and not really dealing damage. And from that point, Vortix was ahead, and he played it so smart. He played such a beautiful macro game here, and showing that Sting might not want to play this again. Like, this kind of style didn't work out at all. Like, the Hellion Banshee didn't do damage, and Vortix, yeah, he has a lot of practice against this style, and just showed him how he can defend it.
I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. I mean, Sting tried to go into completely bog standard macro game, and at the end of it, Vortix ended up making it look quite easy, to be perfectly honest, and that's going to throw Sting a little bit off guard. We've seen him throw in a lot of very early game Rax-heavy pushes in this tournament so far, so it might unsettle him that Vortix took it out so easily in this particular game. But there was the push at around the 15-minute mark we want to take a look at as well, so let's jump into the game here and see what happened towards the end of that game.
All right, so there's a few things to take note of. After that first push from Sting failed, we see this massive drone count for Vortix. He's actually going up to 94 drones, 5 bases, throwing spines and spores down everywhere, absolutely making sure he's drop proof and focusing on making a death army. He's got a big pack of infestors with large energy, Ultralisks with 2/2 upgrades with the chitinous plating about to finish, and he just charges in here and absolutely rolls over Sting's army. Sting only on 1/1 upgrades, his +1 vehicle weapons not finished, and you can see the power of this Ultralisk Baneling Infestor army. Vortix was so comfortable in those openers, he was just so far ahead, and from there he was able to just roll through to victory. And Sting just looked helpless after that first engage.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, he completely crushed his army here. He's gonna kill all the SCVs, and from that point there was like no chance at all to come back. 3-3 on the way, as you mentioned, a lot of spines and spore crawls everywhere. Good creep spread, really sick saturation, over 90 drones. Yeah, just very well played by Vortix here.
So it's a really, really good and a very, very tense game now going into the decider of this game. I don't really know what's going to happen in this final game, to be perfectly honest. It's there's so much tension on the line here from both players. What do you think? Is there any sort of strategy you think we would see specifically come out of either one?
Yeah, what do you think, Pink? Do you think it's going to be a 2-Rex?
Yeah. I think we're going to see that same build from Sting. I think he absolutely loves that 2-Rex play, and it looks so awkward to play against. To see a player of Yu-Gi-Oh's status fall to it earlier on in the tournament, and now to see Vortix obviously drop that game earlier to the 2-Rex, we see these waves of aggression, which Sting has just figured out down to the tiniest little thing. So I really think he's going to go for that same waves of aggression play, really try to throw Vortix off and do a lot of damage with those sneaky drops.
All right, guys. So we're going to be getting into the game in just a moment. Hasselobs, do you think Sting is going to be going for this quick aggression?
Most likely, I think so. Yeah, I think he feels very, very confident with doing a lot of pressure, don't having like 2 E-base, and constantly sending like wave after wave, keeping the Zerg on low eco count or kind of low eco count, and trying to get good trades and just overwhelming armies.
All right, well, we'll see if that ends up happening here. Guys, it's all to play for at the Intel Extreme Masters here in Singapore. Let's throw it over to the casters for this next game.